Hello, trumpet players. It's my pleasure to introduce to you one of our latest books. This is called the Trumpet Folk Fill in the Blank. So what is the Trumpet Folk Fill in the Blank? Basically, we've got 30 folk songs and nursery rhymes. Let me read to you which ones they are. Lightly Row, Ham Bone, Bylum Cabbage Down, Polly Wolly Doodle, New River Train, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, O Susanna, Sea Chanty, Old MacDonald, Down in the Valley, Goober Peas, Alma Mater, Amazing Grace, Three Blind Mice, Home on the Range, Johnny Comes Marching Home, My Bonnie, Bluebells of Scotland, Blue Tail Fly, The Crawdad Song, Long, Long Ago, Billy Boy, Cluck Old Hen, Yankee Doodle, Loch Lomond, Augustine, Swanee River, Buffalo Gals, Arkansas Traveler, and John Henry. Now, this is not just a folk song book. Yes, if you wanted to buy it for that, you would get those folk songs written for trumpet. Basically, I put the first version in what I think is the easiest key for trumpet. But there's more to it than just that. This book is meant to help brand new intermediate students. So you'll notice, if you've been studying my stuff, you'll notice that I have very clear definitions, when somebody goes from one level to the next. I have 7 different levels that I teach. The most defined levels are those first 3 or 4 levels. Then after that, it gets a little bit less defined, just because that's the product pyramid for music, right? If you don't know about that, you should. And maybe it's like that with other fields. I only know about music. The big numbers are on the bottom. There's far, far more beginners than there will ever be of the people at the top of the pyramid, right? So it only makes sense that the majority of students I've worked with have been beginners and intermediate students. So anyway, so the reason I'm telling you this is because this book is designed for primarily, now people who are higher than this level can do this, but we're looking at students that have just recently gone from my 2nd level to my 3rd level. And so we're looking at a range up to E. There are no songs in this book where the range is higher than E, 4th space E. And we're looking at simple time signatures, and where the key signatures we're doing are only up to 3 flats and 3 sharps. And we're only going to have for the most part, I don't know if I stuck to this or not, but I think I did. There's no 16th notes. Quarter notes, half notes, 8th notes, whole notes, some dotted notes. But so we're really talking about someone who has, now here's the trick, has proficiency in those 7 different keys. And the whole point of the book is called Trumpet Folk Fill in the Blank. Why am I calling it that? Well, let's show you. Let's go to Down in the Valley. See that? Down in the Valley. Oh, and by the way, my wife did all these banners for each of the songs and put, so it's got a lot of decorative, very cool decorative illustrations in it. So I'm going to play for you Down in the Valley. Now, when we turn the page, now we have transposed versions of Down in the Valley, but wait, there's more. If you look, some of the notes have been left out, and I put question marks there. That's the fill in the blank part. So we're going to a different key, but some of the notes have been left out. And it's sort of like a game for the students, right? I've been using this. I have 2 students that I've been using this with, and then I did it with one of my more advanced students, and that even the advanced students enjoy this. So it's not like it's limited. The only reason I mentioned the skill level is because I don't think this would work very well for someone in those first 2 levels. You could try, and you could just play the first one of each set, the first version of each song, but it's not really meant to be that way. It's not a folk song book as much as it is like a puzzle book. So, the second version is in G now. The first one I did was in F, written F. Now we're going to go. And here's the first question mark. And the student is supposed to put what they think the note is there. That's the next question mark. And you can hear it in your head, right? Da 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 da. Right? So, and here's what happens. We progress in difficulty. We're going to change to another key now, and more notes are missing. And then we change to yet another key, and more notes are missing. Until we get to the last one, and almost all the notes are missing at this point, right? We have just G, and then a bunch of question marks. Now, why write a book like this? It started off as just something fun for my students to do. I had 2 students. Now, originally it was for a student named Riley. That's all. You know, when I talk about the non-adult students, the younger students, I only ever use their first name. I do not tell you anything more about that student, okay, in an effort to protect their privacy, okay? So I had a student named, still have a student named Riley, and I originally started writing these for him. And then another student came along, Dominica, and she was at the same, a little bit behind Riley, but at about the same level, and I started using these with her. And both of them really enjoyed this. So I thought, hey, as much as they're enjoying it, let's do more, right? And I decided, okay, I went through all the sources I have of folk songs and nursery rhymes. Why folk songs and nursery rhymes? Because they're easier to hear, okay? They're easier to hear than some of the more complicated melodies. And when I found the ones I wanted to use, I went through and categorized each one in terms of, I had a spreadsheet. I looked at the intervals, I looked at the range, I looked at the rhythms, and I wanted to see, after scoring those, what order they would come out. So I'm pretty confident using that spreadsheet that these are in the most progressive order they could be. Okay, so the easiest ones are at the beginning, and they get, you know, more complicated as you get through the book. And, um, but yeah, so I just decided that I would do more of these just because they're fun. But here's the thing, they're not just fun. I'm not really that kind of teacher. If it was just fun, I don't think I would have written the book. What's amazing about this is it helps them do a few things that are actually crucial to being a great trumpet player. One is it helps you with the keys. It helps you actually have a concept of what different keys are, right? Because before you start doing this kind of thing, the concept of what a key signature is kind of sort of arbitrary, isn't it? It actually doesn't mean anything. But when you start doing songs in different keys like this, and then you actually have to come up with the different notes, it forces you to have a implicit understanding of what the key signature, and I think the benefits are all implicit, by the way. I don't think you have to be told this. For them, the students that I just mentioned, it's a game for them. And it's a fun game, okay? But while they're learning this, playing this game, this musical game, they're learning about key signatures. They're also learning how to play by ear. That's obvious, right? That's a given. Because they shouldn't be using their mind to figure out what these notes are. They should be using their ears to figure out what the notes are. And then they're also, because they're doing these two things with the playing by ear and learning the key signatures, they're also learning how to improvise. And in the long run, it's also going to help them learn how to transpose. So these are great skills that they're getting from just playing a simple game where they just fill in the blanks. Now, it can get, that said, it can get a little bit frustrating. But we're going to talk about how this works. So let's talk next about how to do this, how the students should use this book. When you get to that first version of the easiest version of the folk song that doesn't have any question marks in it, you want to practice that correctly at least 10 times. Now, the purpose of the 10 times thing is so that the student has the sound of the folk song in their ears. That's crucial. That's crucial. If you go into it without the 10 times, that's when things start getting frustrating. You want to have in your ears what the song sounds like. Otherwise, when you get to the question marks, it's just a guessing game. It doesn't mean anything. So then you want to go through and do the ones that have the question marks. Okay, now here's the thing. Here's a prerequisite. We haven't talked yet about prerequisites. There is a prerequisite. We don't want to do this if you haven't mastered those 7 keys, up to 3 flats, up to 4 sharp, up to 3 flats and 3 sharps, okay? And I do have a book that will help you with that. If you don't work the same way with your students as I do with my students, or if you're one of the students yourself looking at this and you have never done my tonalization studies, I think that the best way to prepare for using this book is to do my Tyro. It's called Trumpet Tyro Tonalization Studies. And that's the best way to prepare for this, because if you do those tonalization studies, if you master that book, this just becomes an extension of those skills. The Trumpet Folk Fill in the Blank just becomes an extension of those key signature skills that you get from the tonalization studies. Okay? So after you've done that, and then you've done your 10 times on the original folk song that doesn't have the question marks. Then you go, you flip the page, and I did it that way on purpose. You flip the page so that the one that's written out is not in front of you. Now it's on the flip side of the page, and it kind of forces you to not look over there and see. All right? And you just play what's written. If you get to a question mark and you can tell you're playing the wrong note, then back up and try it again. Try a different note the next time. It's okay to fish in this case. The fishing is going to help. I strongly believe in this context that when you fish for the notes and then have that, aha, that's the note moment, that your subconscious mind stores all that. And when you have that aha moment, that note that your mind is hearing, and that fingering and the chop position and all that stuff, it's a holistic, you know, I've been saying lately that playing by ear is a holistic thing. It's not just what you hear. I believe that when you hear this mentally in your head, you hear the notes in your head, and it triggers all of the physical, mechanical mechanisms that have to go into place to play that note at that volume with that style. That, to me, is how I define playing by ear. Okay? And you're encouraging that when you fish. What do I mean by fishing? Fishing is when you played the wrong note and you try some other notes instead. That's fishing. And we want to fish in this context because when you fish around and then find, you catch, so to speak, you catch the fish. Then that aha moment kicks in and your mind stores that. So that's how you want to treat this book. And yes, you can go back and do it again, right? You can go back and do it again. And you just keep progressing. So it is a progressive book. It's progressive two ways. The folk songs as we go are progressive, but then also the different transpositions are also progressive. And in that we start taking away more and more notes. Or I will strategically remove more difficult notes, like the ones on a big interval or something like that. So yes, I think, now to my knowledge, I don't know that anyone's ever done anything like this before. Even if they have, this as a trumpet package, I think is probably one of the most unique things I've ever done in my lifetime. And I've written a lot of books, right? And a lot of them are actually very unique. This has got to be the most unique package that Pearl and I have ever put together. And I'm very, very happy with it. I do recommend, so this is the perfect bound. If you buy this on Amazon, you'll get the perfect bound. And the problem with perfect bound is that it doesn't really open up flat on the music stand. What you want to do is go to lulu.com. There'll be links down there, and get the coil bound, because the coil bound will sit on your stand and open like that, so that you don't have to like push it down. That's what I had to do here. This is the proof copy that I ordered. I wouldn't have for myself or my students. I would not have ordered the perfect bound, but Amazon, Barnes & Noble, those places, they only do perfect bound. They don't do spiral bound. So I had to approve a perfect bound version of this book. That's why I have this copy. You cannot get distributed without approving a perfect bound copy. So I do recommend that you buy from Lulu and get the coil bound version of the book. All right. I think, so let me stress once again that this is not just for intermediate players. We're not just looking at that narrow category of player. Anybody from that up. I've been using it now with some of my more advanced students. They enjoy it. They enjoy it almost as much as the other students do, because it uses a part of your brain. It's like flexing your mental muscles, and quite frankly, it's fun. I know, some people like the nursery rhymes like "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" and stuff like that. That's not what it's about. This is not romper room, kindergarten stuff. Okay, we use the artwork because that's the songs, the nature of the songs that we're doing, right? But I think that the challenge of doing these songs this way is so extremely beneficial, and because you're getting that benefit, the students enjoy it. So they're doing something that they enjoy, but they're also getting a lot of benefit out of it. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I do have links down in the comments where you can buy the book. And other than that, I'm going to say God bless you guys. Thanks for coming to my channel, and thanks for hearing me out on this book. Can you tell I'm excited about this? I don't normally like jump up and down and get like hysterical about anything, right? I don't do that. That's not who I am. But this book has already brought joy to my students, and I'm very excited about the joy and improvement that it will bring to you or your students. So please consider. And we're doing this, we're releasing it now because it's right before Christmas, right? And it would make for a trumpet student, it would make a wonderful Christmas gift, okay? So, with that said, God bless you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on the next video.